Hey people, how you doing? I hope everything is good in your day. There's more and more customer success teams that double down on learning management systems, education, community. Most of them are probably doing it because there's lots of great results. And so I brought in a very cool guy. He's the manager of customer enablement at a company you probably all heard of, Churn Zero. Peter Adams, welcome to our channel.
Thank you so much, Irit. I'm so happy to be here. This is very exciting. I absolutely love what I'm doing as far as customer enablement, and being with Churn Zero has been like a life changer. It's awesome.
Honestly, like Peter, it's a life changer because you didn't even come from customer success or education at the onset of your career. You kind of stumbled into it. Maybe we start from there because I think a lot of people that are listening to this hope to get to customer success, and education is a great part of a way to plug into customer success. And we'll talk about what difference it made for Churn Zero in doubling down on community and LMS. Peter had submitted a nomination for the Customer Success Excellence Award. And as a judge, I actually read through his nomination and I thought, wow, we got to bring you in to share what you've done. So before we start on what you've done, how did you get mixed up in being an enablement manager for a customer success software?
Honestly, I feel like the universe just put me on the path and I didn't even realize it. So I got my degree in technical design for theaters. I didn't make a lot of money. And so I moved home. And when I moved home, I was actually looking for a job and I went to the mall. And that's when I stumbled into Apple. And so I started my retail career at Apple. And that's where I got my first taste of education. That's when I discovered I want to be a mentor. I want to do this for other people. When I joined the mentor team at Apple, I was training new employees from entry level to store leaders. I was opening up new stores for Apple in our district. After a while, I was getting a little dissatisfied with retail and I wanted to do something different. And people thought, you're great with people. You should go into real estate. My success in real estate was spotty. That's when I realized I need to find a mentoring position or a training role. And so I joined Cvent as a client trainer. And so COVID hit, there was a reduction in force at Cvent. I was one of those, unfortunately. That's how I ended up coming to Churn Zero. It's been awesome. So now I'm running our LMS and community platforms.
You've been at Churn Zero for almost a year and a half, maybe a little longer. What were the first things that you decided to do when you first joined?
One of the first things I wanted to do is understand how are our customers learning about the software. That's when I realized we were running a weekly webinar series. One of the challenges with that was while the series was valuable, the topics that we were discussing would change week to week. And so it didn't align with our customers' journey, especially in that onboarding phase. I think the other challenge was the time in which the webinars were hosted, because depending on your time zone, that webinar might be early or late. And so trying to find the time and the relevancy of the topic, that was causing some friction. That's when we decided to invest in the LMS platform because we could create a self-service version of our education.
One of the first things that you've done is take the webinar series and convert it into potentially like something that can be consumed in the LMS. And then there's a little bit of an order to it, I suppose. Was there any other initiatives that popped up down the road for you in this 2.5 years? So did you first do the LMS and then did you dream up of anything else?
Yeah, so it was interesting. We were launching an LMS and a community at the same time. And the community also plays a significant role. Think about enablement resources, a knowledge base, an LMS, and a community. They each have different personas. Knowledge bases are technical. LMSs are more concepts, strategies, and application. And community, I think, is more so collaboration and exploration. And so we understood why we needed community because while our customer success managers are subject matter experts in our product and customer success, they might not know mechanics industry or the health industry or the best practices for an ed tech industry. So we're servicing multiple industries and multiple business models. And people can accumulate this knowledge over time. But when our customers are looking for great resources to ask questions, collaborate, get feedback, they needed a platform to do that. And so that's where our community is able to enable our customers to connect with each other it's exclusive to them. And so this way, there's more relevant content based off of what they're trying to find out, maybe in regards to their industry or to their business model, and how they can apply that through Churn Zero.
First of all, how long did it take you, and what was the impact as soon as you were done setting both of these up?
On average, we probably took about 3 months to implement both platforms. As a result, we saw people go into the LMS quite quickly. Our LMS has had high adoption. We have about 90 to 95% of our customers who have actually gone in and consumed LMS training. And then our community, that's also continued to grow. What I love about the community is that we also recognize there are some people who are more involved than others and actively sought out to get more engaged more. And so we created an ambassador program within the community. And so it was a group of small customer volunteers who could also lead discussion as well. So they can start to model some of the behaviors we hope to see.
First 3-4 months, you're already seeing lots of customers going to that LMS and watching recorded webinars, potentially opting into live ones that are just dedicated for the customers, I suppose. That's a very quick ROI. How long did it take you to set up the LMS?
While our LMS has had multiple iterations, setting it up, I don't want to say was easy. And what made it easy was the resources I was given and the instructions that I had. I almost had a step-by-step guide. And that was just so perfect because coming in, I had used LMS at Cvent. I was working in the Chabo. And so I was familiar with that platform, which is a robust enterprise platform. And then moving into a new one, I had to learn a new system. And so learning the new system, that was definitely a little bit of a challenge, but their platform is super easy to use. And so getting it set up was just taking those videos and cutting them up and then organizing them in sections. So if we're talking about a specific feature, how are you introducing the concept? How are you telling your students how they could utilize it? And then how could they then go beyond just basic utilization? Maybe if they need to do their own creation or reporting. So it's starting to scaffold what that looked like. But we've had multiple iterations of our LMS already in the past 2.5 years. Our product's gone through a UI change. And when that UI changed, that was our opportunity to update all of our material. We also introduced a new tool in our tech stack that's allowing us to go from a level 1 passive learning to like a level 3 interactive learning. And our community is going through another evolution as well. We had migrated from Higher Logic when they acquired Vanilla to the Vanilla platform. That's when you actually read our application for the Customer Excellence Awards. It was after that update in the community.
Peter, if you didn't implement this strategy, if you didn't implement LMS, you didn't implement the community, what would have been the impact on your company?
After we've implemented these solutions, customers are exploring more of what's available to them in their subscription model. And so maybe they're only, prior to this release of these two platforms, they were only using 25% of all the features available, barely scratching the surface. And maybe that's because they didn't totally understand what was out there and how to use it. And so now that we've released these platforms, it's easily accessible material. And now we can see our customers are exploring more of the functionality and starting to take advantage of it. After we release these platforms, not only are we seeing an uptick in adoption overall and utilization of the people have purchased in health, but we're actually seeing a higher level of actual engagement in our system, exploring the features available and providing valuable feedback. Our customers' feedback weighs heavily for them and they review that weekly. And we've just enhanced our product with the release of this renewal hub where we can now forecast and measure actuals when it comes to our NRR, ARR. And then we've redesigned account and contact profiles so it's easier for CSMs to navigate the timeline of their customers. And all this came from feedback. If we didn't have the LMS that helped people understand the functionality of Churn Zero, they wouldn't be as competent and they wouldn't have explored and challenged themselves in what functions they could take advantage of to make their lives easier and better.
Maybe you can break down what made this LMS and community projects work. Maybe you can break down the elements of those, like the processes, the teams that were involved, the functionality of the actual solution. Maybe show us.
As far as our processes go, when we implemented these solutions, we've made them integral to every part of our customer's journey from the very beginning. So when customers first join Churn Zero, they're introduced to these resources and they're guided through how to utilize them, and the purpose and intention of what they should be getting out of it. So expressing the value and how to think of it, not just as a, here's how you get started, but also as an ongoing solution for them throughout their holistic journey. This is a partnership between education, customer success, implementation teams with configuration specialists and data specialists. And that customer success manager is truly our liaison throughout the whole process. As far as the community goes, I'm now working with our customer marketing manager, Maureen, and we're developing a process where we can structure a way in which we can get our own team members into the community more frequently, but also get them in very specific and manageable way. Whenever I'm trying to get our teams involved, especially our customer success managers, I want to make sure every single one of my asks is very specific and very manageable. And they also know, I tell my team, like, I'm never going to ask you something I'm not willing to do myself. And I'm also going to not ask you things that are going to not bring value to you. And so I'm always trying to let them know when your customers are engaging in the LMS, they're going to be asking less how-to questions and more what-if questions. I like those what-ifs because that's how we discover potential. When they're engaged in the community, they're going to be widening their understanding of industry practices within our product. They're going to be able to bring what they've learned from these places to your conversations so they become deeper and more strategic. And I think that's where the value can continue to be built and driven.
Peter, maybe you can help everybody that's listening and watching this conversation. What would you say are a couple of things that anybody that's building a community or an LMS platform can do in order to increase engagement with those platforms? How do you create awareness for it? How do you hold the customer accountable for attending and taking some of those sessions and being more involved?
About our resources, it's about getting the right content to the right people at the right time. And we have a special tool. I can actually create targeted audiences and then deploy automated engagement opportunities to them. And so I think about, what if someone is just starting to use the platform? How am I walking them through that and embedding educational points? Maybe it's a short video, maybe it's a link to another resource, or maybe the first time they touch something in the platform, I want something to pop up and show them how to use it. And so it's about getting the content out to these people at the right moment and that it's relevant. So one, educating them on the resources throughout their journey, reinforcing the use of that. We do that through reports. We have actually a report that we share with our customers. It's called the Account Insight Report. And that's what actually identifies, here are your team members. Here are the educational goals of the completion we want them to see for specific courses in the LMS. And we share that with their main point of contact, who's typically a team leader or a manager running a team of CSMs. Especially during that onboarding process, now we're enabling our main point of contact. We're giving them accountability to their own team members. The other thing we're going to continue to work on is, how do we reach those end users and how do we actually support them even better? Because I think right now, a lot of our material is focused on the administrator and product functionality and product configuration. And now we're diving more into use cases and day in the life, and actually understanding our end users' needs spurred the launch of a new webinar series that we started this year. The best feedback we've had from any of our webinars, I think our average is a 98% CSAT score for the webinar, the topic, and the host. These webinars are for CSMs by CSM, and our customers love it. And the questions that they're asking in these webinars, the chat blows up. Like, it's great because there's also this knowledge share happening.
Actually, to me, it means that almost everything that you do, Peter, think about the framework and the intent. And so if anybody that's listening to this conversation were like, I want a little bit of that magic that Peter brings, and they wanted to learn more about that, and maybe you can share, how did you learn about the template? Are you using any frameworks? And where can they get some of that?
Yeah. So as far as our process goes, we're doing the ADDIE model. Anyone who's in LMS or education understands that it's just an iterative process of designing something, testing it out, getting feedback, and making it better. But something that's really helped us in our process of getting content to the LMS, a lot of the focus is on net new products or product enhancements. And now we're diving into use cases, and we're bringing in day in the life interactive scenarios to the LMS using the tool Articulate Rise. And a lot of this is coming from feedback. And so one thing I did is I wanted to start capturing good feedback from our customers in the moment. So at the end of every course, I added a lesson, and I called that lesson the one last step. And the reason I called it one last step is because psychologically, someone sees it and like, oh, great. If I get through all the lessons and I get to this one last step, I'm done. When they get to that one last step, I want to know your opinion. I asked 2 questions. 1, what did you think of our content? Give me a rating scale. 2, if there's something we could do to improve it or something else you're looking for, fill in the blank. Once I started getting that feedback, it was 1, validating, understanding, yeah, these are the opportunities I know that I need. And then 2, understanding what the customers are looking for and their own understanding of what I put out there. And so from that, I understood maybe I need to think about the restructuring of our LMS. So instead of having one course dedicated to a specific product feature, take that course and now we're going to break it up. We're going to level it out so I can start scaffolding our students' learning, starting with beginner concepts. And then they go to the next level, which is going to be utilization. And the other part of this leveling that I'm considering is user permissions, because within all of our products, some users have more permissions than others. Like I'm an administrator for my LMS. I can do anything versus some of my team members. I block some of their use on the back end of my LMS because I want to make sure that I have some gates up. So when I'm creating these levels, the people that I'm putting first are my end users who might have the limited access, who just need to understand what it is and how they're going to use it in their day to day. And they don't need to know about the configuration. They don't need to know about how to create it themselves. I'm not going to block that content, but I'm going to put it in a format, in a linear way that makes it easy for them to follow. And each level just increases in complexity. The other thing that we're doing is we're going to start utilizing learning paths. Well, for me to actually present different types of solutions that aren't just feature specific. We have to think more holistically about the processes people are trying to accomplish. Maybe they're trying to improve their communication strategy. But the learning path is going to let us connect the dots between a holistic platform utilization, as well as including stories, use cases, day in the life scenarios.
I love that you think about it from the various personas and what do they need. I'm almost hearing like, I don't want to give them content that would get them frustrated because they don't have the permissions. Oh, click here. They don't even have that.
You're so right. It's that plus understanding when we rebuilt our LMS the first time, we thought it was great. And now that we're getting feedback, we're like, maybe we over-engineered it. And so now we can start reassessing everything. And so this is something my team and I do typically on a biannual basis. We're taking a hard look at 1, the feedback, we review that weekly, but then 2, we're taking a hard look at what we've actually designed from a big picture. We're stepping all the way back. And so now we're in the works of doing another version that's going to just make it easier to navigate, easier to understand, and giving our customers more of what they're looking for. Video-based content's the number one preferred way to learn.
So basically what you're trying to say is start with a minimal viable product. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then bank on every 6 months, reiterating based on feedback, what works and what doesn't, but don't try to get it perfect on your first version. And so if anybody is trying to implement a customer community, an LMS, or they already have one and you're just trying to get better, can you recommend some resources that inspired you to do a better job for Churn Zero and just learn more? And where do they get their hands on best practices?
The Customer Education Playbook by Daniel Quick and Barry Kelly. I read that over a vacation, and they kind of give you I don't want to say a foolproof guide, but if you're just starting, it is a great guide to follow. Another good book to read would be The Customer Education, Way Smart Companies Profit by Making Customers Smarter. That's by Adam
Avramechko.
Another great book. He's also one of the leaders in this industry. The other things that I would take a look at website-wise, elearningindustry.com. And then I'd also look at TSIA. They have an amazing freemium content and webinars. And they have a whole department dedicated to educational services led by Maria Manning Chapman. And that's where you can start to get information about best practices, also how to measure and quantify your programs. Maybe even if you're looking into understanding monetization and why it might be valuable to monetize your platforms. So there's good industry reports there that I would totally recommend downloading and sign up for their newsletter because they're always hosting different webinars. And anytime I can, I'm either registering and watching the video after or attending live.
Peter, awesome initiative. You've done so much for your company and had such an impact and tremendous effect in doing so to so many CSMs and customer success teams. So thank you for all of your contribution, and thank you for coming on the show to just kind of like explain your thoughts and how you did things and really break it down from your career to how you approach the build out of the LMS and community and the impact that it had, and even some great resources. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. And thank you for having me.
With that, hope you really enjoyed this conversation. And if you did, don't forget to go on our YouTube channel, subscribe, give us a like. And if you need any help with setting up digital CS, meaning think about strategies like education and LMS and how can you increase adoption and solve issues for your onboarding or reaching out to end users in year 2 and 3 with you, reach out to me. CSM Practice is the #1 strategy consulting firm, and we have a program for you. We'd love to eat these problems for breakfast. Thank you so much, Peter. See you guys at the next video. Big love from me.